welcome everybody to the Week 10 preview. Baltimore versus Cleveland at home at the bank again, back-to-back weeks. Feels like we haven't been able to say that for a while. 1 o'clock Sunday. Let's go. We got the 5-3 Browns versus the 7-2 Ravens.
Best division in the NFL. All four teams are in the playoffs right now. All four teams are above 500. All four teams are coming off of a win, I think, right? The Steelers won, didn't they?
They did.
Yeah, so all four teams coming off a win. Cleveland coming off a shutout win at home with Deshaun Watson back. So, things are looking up for them a little bit. We'll get more into that when we talk injury, but
yeah,
should be a very interesting matchup this week.
For sure. Just getting into the prequel of the matchup. First things first, we're rocking the purple jersey, white pants again. I don't know why we wouldn't. We're 3-0 with wearing that for Seattle, Detroit, and Houston. Looks like the weather's going to be pretty clear, 49 degrees.
Nice
no
and
wind
cold,
or anything
nice
like
and crisp.
that. Yeah, nice and crisp fall Sunday. We're favored by 6.5 points right now. The over-under is 38.5, so that's a pretty low over-under. Probably, everyone knows we got the good defenses. Each of us, I think we're number one. We're number one in points per game, and they're number 3 in points per game defense.
They are number 1 overall, though.
If you look at yards, yeah.
But they are holding teams to incredibly low yardage.
I feel like yards is more of a product of how bad your offense is.
Yeah.
Because if you're giving the other team short fields and stuff.
That's true. I never thought about it like that.
Yeah.
But
the Ravens have won 3 out of the last 5 matchups between us and Cleveland. Mm-hmm. And then obviously our last matchup was week 4 where we beat them 28-3 without Deshaun Watson, but we were also missing about 20 guys off of our starters.
I say it almost every time we play a divisional opponent, but especially one of the 2 whiny teams from Ohio. Stop complaining that y'all played us without your best player. How many times over the last 3 years have we played you guys without Lamar? Seriously, just reflect on it for a second, because every time y'all have played Lamar, you've lost. So just
pretty much.
Well, I mean, except for the Browns have been better against Lamar than the Bengals, but still, you know what I'm saying. So
yeah,
I don't want to hear that excuse. I really don't, unless you were legitimately fielding 8 or 9 practice squad players like the Ravens were in 2021 against the Bengals, then that's not an excuse.
Yeah. But anyways, the referee of the game, Land Clark.
Mm-hmm.
All right. He actually is known for the most unnecessary roughness flags of all refs. So we got to be careful with that. He's also known for being on the flag happy side of offensive holding. So our O-linemen got to be pretty good with their hands there. Try to keep them inside.
The NFL wants to make this division closer than it actually is. I'll tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
Because no matter the outcome of this game, win or lose, the losing team is probably going to be unhappy with that man.
Yeah. And, I mean, there's nothing – I don't think there's anything really to discuss with him. But just going into the signings for this week, Ravens did not sign anybody. But if you want to talk about the Browns, they did sign James Prochet, former Raven, to their active roster. All right, so I know they signed Kenyon Drake to their practice squad last week, but now Prochet is officially on the active roster for them. So good for him. I like Prochet. He didn't pan out for us, but I hope he pans out for them as long as they're not playing us.
Right. And I had heard this. I think John Harbaugh had said something about it. They asked about being worried about Prochet and Drake really knowing the playbook, knowing the calls and all that. And I didn't know this because I've never actually played at a high level, but apparently they change this stuff all the time.
Yeah, you have to in the NFL because you got to also think about just watching the game. We can hear their calls half the time that they're making now with the cameras and all that stuff over top of them going down the field. You can hear all their calls. So if they didn't do that, people would know.
I guess, again, I just really didn't think that.
Yeah. The question would be is if they have a pattern, like maybe they have like 3 or 4 calls that mean the same thing, like which one are we using this week, things like that.
I think against divisional opponents, they always try to shake it up, though. So.
You got to, yeah, because I mean, you're playing them twice a year, so these guys know each other.
We don't know if this is the last time we'll play them. Like,
nope.
I know that everyone's saying Bengals, Ravens, but I could see a world where all 4 of these teams make the playoffs, and we have to play one of them either on the road or at home, hopefully at home. So be ready. We ain't playing one of these teams, all of these teams twice. One of them's going to get a third game.
Yeah, so let's go into the injuries here. So some key injuries for the Browns. They have a much longer injury report than we do. First 2 are the fact that they put 2 players on the IR this week. Cornerback Cameron Mitchell with a hamstring, and offensive tackle Jedrick Willis, who's their starting tackle. I think he was their left tackle, and he has a knee injury, so he'll be out. I think he tore his ACL or something like that.
Yeah, I actually, I didn't realize that happened to Jedrick Willis. I thought it was just someone else on that lineup. Shows how much I pay attention to the Browns.
Well, you got to remember, too, earlier in like week 1, Jack Conklin, their other starting tackle, tore his ACL and is out for the season. Now they're out without their starting 2 tackles from the beginning of the season. They have a rookie as one of their starters, and he is actually, I believe, also DeJuan Jones is also on the injury report with a knee/shoulder injury and has not practiced yet. So that's 3 tackles.
Was it their center who got carted off against us? Is he back?
I believe so. Nick Harris, is that their center?
I think so.
Yeah, because it shows him on the injury report in full with a toe injury.
Yeah, I just remember someone on that O-line got carted off against us, and I'm hoping they're back. Look, I don't want there to be any reason for the Browns to say that we just walked through another one. I want to beat them at their best. Obviously, that probably won't happen. If we do beat them, they won't be at their best. But looking at this injury report, but it is kind of annoying when you get a divisional opponent in a game like this, and they're all hurt because it's like, nah, I'll take a win.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to think that one of these receivers, David Bell or Marquise Goodwin, are not playing, and that's probably why they signed Prochet to the active roster. Goodwin's got a concussion, Bell's got a knee. I don't think either of those are their top 3 receivers. I think they're probably wide receiver 4, if anything.
And you'll notice Amari Cooper, he's just rest.
So yeah, he's just got his veteran. It says NIR for non-injury related.
Rest,
just like Odell.
Did he tweak an ankle or something, or is it like early and he's just you said like
it does, yeah. It also says ankle for him. So, and he actually did not practice in full today. He was limited. So I wonder about that. Maybe that may change. Who knows? I doubt it, but the main 5 that are questionable for them are David Njoku, number 1, with a knee injury. I think he's pretty vital to their offensive game plan. So if he doesn't play, that would be huge. Running back Pierre Strong, I think he's like their 3rd or 4th, or he's their 3rd now that what's his face? Chubb is out. And then
number 1, right?
Yeah. And then they've got Kareem Hunt too. So
okay.
And so then you got the 2 receivers we mentioned, and then Greg Newsome, the corner, with a groin. How groins can be pretty tricky too. So who knows with that?
Yeah.
I would expect the rest of these guys to be good to go. But looking at the Ravens, a few guys popped up today on Thursday that were not on it yesterday. Jalen Armour-Davis says illness, did not practice today. Rashad Bateman.
Sick.
Yeah. I mean, that happens. And that Michael Pierce has been sick too, so he didn't practice today or yesterday, but they did say he was at least at practice today. He just wasn't practicing. Rashad Bateman with a back was limited today. Marlon Humphrey with a hamstring was limited today. And Keaton Mitchell with a hamstring was limited today. All 3 of those guys were practicing on Wednesday. So that was not good to see.
I think that the only person outside of Jalen Armour-Davis, who I don't even really consider a Raven at this point, he never plays. Look, that's harsh, and I hope him to be able to kind of work his way back into things. But the only one I'm really, really worried about would be Keaton Mitchell with the hamstring. I think Michael Pierce could be fine. They already rotate those guys in and out anyway. I think Rashad Bateman probably just like sore. It's a back, so you do want to be careful. I think he took a weird landing last week, didn't he?
Well, the main thing that I'm concerned about is the fact that they weren't on the practice or on the injury report on Wednesday, and then they were today on Thursday. So that makes me think that they tweaked something in Wednesday's practice.
Yeah, and I don't know when they don't practice on a day, but they don't give like a reason why. What does that normally mean? If it's like, like for OBJ, it's DNP rest, but for Armour Davis and Rashad Bateman, it's just like
that means that they practiced on Wednesday.
They
were not listed on the injury report on Wednesday.
Okay. Yeah. But see, that confuses me because for Morgan Moses it says full and Marcus Williams it says full.
Because they were both on the injury report on Wednesday. Yeah. They just, I guess, designated them as full. Because they were coming off an injury.
Good God, I am off my rocker today. No. Okay, so yeah, you're right. I do remember, I can't remember if it was Bateman or someone else, but I think someone landed on their back last week or the week before, and like, I think it was Bateman. And maybe that's just like he tweaked it again in practice. Be careful with your back. It's always tough.
Yeah.
And with the hamstring.
Yeah.
Marlon.
But that wraps up the injury report for this week. Let's go ahead and shoot it over to TK's Coach's Film Room segment. Hope you guys enjoy. What's up, guys? Welcome to the TK's Coach's Film Room. Here we're going to be watching the last week 9 Seattle Seahawks recap. Just looking at the All-22 here. Just before we get started, some quick notes that I saw. QBs cannot hold the ball versus our defense. The only success that Geno Smith had this week was on quick passes, quick rhythm passes, where basically it was his first read. Anytime it went past that, he was just getting flustered with how much pressure he was getting in his face. And I think that goes for most quarterbacks in the league. Most quarterbacks, once you get into their grill one time, they're not going to be accurate the rest of the game. Lamar this week, one negative that I can point out was his deep ball accuracy, especially on those go balls. He overthrew a few, and they weren't even close, really. He's just got to make sure he gives this guy a chance, especially when they're in one-on-one coverage. I would rather it be underthrown so that the receiver can come back to the ball. From my experience, that is usually pretty successful. At the very least, you should draw a PI. Next, Keaton Mitchell, obviously player of the game. One thing that I really liked about him is that he is always falling forward, despite his size being 5'8", about 200 pounds. He has just some power that you just can't really describe. And the fact that he's able to fall forward in the NFL at his size is pretty impressive. Marlon Humphrey, he looks back to himself. I know previous couple games, it just didn't seem like he was really back to himself. He was getting beat a lot. This week, they put him in man coverage quite a bit against pretty solid receivers, mainly DK Metcalf. When he was in man coverage with him, he was running with him stride for stride, and we all know Metcalf is a burner, so that was really good to see. Zay Flowers needs more than one target. He was getting plenty of separation. He made Witherspoon look silly a few times. We're just not giving him the ball. I don't know if that was just, the scheme or whatnot, but I think Monken has to do a better job of making sure he gets his touches. Last thing before we get started, Ronnie Stanley. I know I was really getting on him before watching the film. The main thing with him is that when he gets beat, it's really, really bad. It looks awful. And it's just like, have you ever played this position before? But 95% of the time, he's doing his job. He's doing a really good job blocking, holding his own. It's just that 5% that he does get beat, and it's not even. It's like night and day. It's like a guy who's a Pro Bowler versus a guy who's never played football before, and that 5% is just ugly. So let's get started. All right, first guy that doesn't get a lot of attention, Jordan Stout, punting out of his own end zone. This is early on in the game, second drive. Look at the way he flips the field position here. He goes from his goal line. Ball lands on the 25. That's a 75-yard punt. Holy crap. In the air. And then we have really good punt coverage. Tylan Wallace ends up making this tackle. Shout out to Tylan Wallace on special teams. That's why he's there. And they only get about 5 yards on the return. All right, next. Offensively, Keaton Mitchell in the backfield. Just watch his quickness here. Got a nice little counter play with our guard and tackle pulling across to this side. 90 has him dead to right. John Simpson, we'll get into this, but he whiffed quite a few times in this game. Here's an example of one that he does. Look, he's on the ground on his hands and knees. Defensive tackle number 90 here has Keaton Mitchell dead to right for a TFL. But because Mitchell is so quick, he just sidesteps him and runs by. And he gets a gain of 10 yards. So he's making something out of nothing. He's getting a first down run on a play that should be a TFL. That is the difference between a running back who's just average versus a guy that is a top-tier running back. You can't teach speed and quickness. All right. Let's see where we at. Okay. Here we go. Let's watch Rashad Bateman here. Watch his catch right here. He's crossing the middle right here behind Bobby Wagner. He's catching that off the shoestrings down here. Wasn't a perfect pass by Lamar, but he does get it around Bobby Wagner. But the biggest thing that I like here is the fact that Rashad Bateman is confident in his hands and making really good catches. He makes another one that we're going to get into in a second. All right, here I want to look at John Simpson. Let me rewind it a bit to the beginning. John Simpson, our left guard here. Like I said, he whiffed quite a few times. I think it's pretty evident that he is our worst offensive lineman. And I just hope that he doesn't beat us in one of these close games. But here he is. It's just an outside zone to the left, so he's reaching for 99, and he just cuts underneath of him. All right, so look at how wide his stance is right here. He needs to make sure his feet stay underneath of him and that he's not head over his knees, basically. He should not be lunging in this case. Awful position to be in. And he just whiffs. And now we have Keaton Mitchell on a D lineman again in the backfield. This time he doesn't really get a chance to get away from him. He has to take the TFL. All right, again, back-to-back plays. John Simpson to the left. All right, we're going to run a screen now to the left side. And John Simpson's going to release up to the second level. This screen would have been a big play if Simpson makes his block here. All right, he's basically got to get Jamal Adams right now. I'm not sure how they teach it for the timing-wise, but it just feels like he's a hair late getting out to get him, and Adams sees it. And he reacts quicker than Simpson does, and he just undercuts Simpson. If we get this ball and Simpson blocks him out, that might be another touchdown for Keaton Mitchell. But instead, he catches it for no gain. All right. All right, another one for Rashad Bateman. All right. We got a nice pocket here. Good job by the offensive line. We got, Gus Edwards is out here. Play action pass. He comes back, finds Rashad Bateman. Rashad Bateman does a good job of seeing Wagner here and sitting in this zone backside. So he does that. Comes back to the ball and makes a really good catch, outstretched over in between those two defenders. Look at his hands here. That is awesome. Yeah, so just again, Bateman is just looking so confident in his hands. It's only a matter of time before he has a breakout game. Keaton Mitchell, here's his touchdown run here. I just want to show you again the difference between him and our other running backs. All right, first off, Stanley gets beat here by Mafe with the speed. Mitchell just uses his speed and goes right underneath of it. And he splits another defensive lineman that's diving at his ankles. And now he just uses his speed. 27 right here is a 4.2 40 cornerback. And he's making him look slow. That is real deal speed. All right. Last play on offense. Another big Keaton Mitchell run. Story of the day offensively. All right, so we got a crack toss here to the boundary. And we're going to have Linderbaum coming out, pulling around for any trash. It's basically a buck sweep type of play here to the boundary. So you got McCary pulling out, and you got Linderbaum pulling out. But I want to also, and don't just watch the running back. Watch Tyler Linderbaum right here. He makes this play happen. All right. Boom. Here goes one guy. Knocked him out. Oh, still going. Watch Tyler Linderbaum right here. Boom. 2, 3. And then Keaton Mitchell's down the field. All right. Defensively, there was nothing negative that I could find. So we're just going to look at some of these highlights here and some of these impressive plays that I saw that really stood out to me. First play here, I want to highlight Jadeveon Clowney. All right, so they're going to run an outside zone back to our right side, the defense's right side. So Clowney is on the back side, which means this tight end right here has to cut off Clowney and, make sure that he can't chase down the play from behind. Sometimes offenses will just leave this guy unblocked because it's so unlikely that he's going to chase down an outside zone from the backside. But watch Jadeveon Clowney here. All right, so he slants hard right now. He recognizes outside zone opposite way and does not get blocked by this tight end and makes the play at the line of scrimmage. That is a freaky athletic play, and it's just, a lot of times those are the plays that don't exactly, get a lot of hype, but really add up when you go and take a look at it. That's the difference between a great defense and just an okay one. An okay one, your backside defensive end isn't making that play. Next, here's Geno Stone, interception. All right, so we're going to be in a basically just a cover 2. All right, so we got this guy's cover 2. All right, so first thing I want to point out, we are in the bank, back at home. Watch this. Geno Smith at the line of scrimmage. He's making a check down here. He's checking at the line of scrimmage. Watch Tyler Lockett right here, who is actually going to end up being the intended receiver. Hands in the air. Look at this. Hands in the air. He has no idea what the play is. And you can tell. Right now, right before the snap, hands are out wide. He has no idea. This is because of the loud stadium and the home field advantage. People that say home field advantage doesn't matter does not take this into account. All right, not only do we have this happen, they had 2 false starts. All right, so the fact that we have these next 2 games at home are huge. All right, so again, it's cover 2 defensively. You got an out followed by what should be a fade ball, but it looks like Lockett just has no idea what route he's running, so he's just running and turning around. And because of that, Geno Stone's there right for the interception. So, also, I want to say Geno Stone, you can tell he watches his film. All right. All those Odafe Owe haters, check him out. He is a completely different player than he was last year. Chuck Smith is just giving him all of these weapons, and he's really using them here. So just watch this. Watch these pass rush moves. He did not have this last year. Right here. All right, so we got a swim move. A swim move. He never did that last year. One time. Then he splits the guard and the tackle with a running back looking at him, and he just bull rushes him with his pure strength and athleticism. Sack. All right. Owe is showing up way more than he is on the stat books when you watch the film. All right. It's only a matter of time before these sacks start adding up for him. Okay. Next two plays here, I want to highlight Patrick Queen and his timing on his blitzes. All right, so since they are spread out wide, we have Patrick Queen outside of the box. We are actually going to send him on a blitz right here off the edge. Or I guess he's coming in between the edge. He's going to blitz that B gap. All right, but look at this timing. He's on a run. He catches the snap on the run. All right, that's another home field advantage. You get a hang of what their cadences are because they can only do one thing. They can't go on two. They can't go on different cadences. So another home field advantage. Patrick Queen takes advantage of it. All right, same thing, opposite side of the field. Now they're in an empty formation. We're going to bring him again inside that B gap right here. And he times it perfectly. He's at the line on a full speed sprint with no blocker on him. Good luck, Geno Smith. And he just has no choice but to just throw it away. I mean, luckily for them, he didn't make it worse than throwing an interception. All right. And then the last one here, a guy that goes under the radar a lot. He doesn't play a whole bunch, but he, I think, is a guy that is going to really develop in this defense. He's a guy that I feel like he's getting better each week. And this week, he gets in here. He's an outside linebacker, Robinson, 95. I just really like his motor here. He starts on this side of the field, on this side of the offensive line. He stunts in over the center. He wraps all the way around across to the right guard. All right, now Geno's going to get the ball out. And he's full on sprint to the ball right here. And it ends up only being like a 3-yard gain. He made that tackle from being the left side defensive end from the opposite side of the field. That, to me, is very impressive. I believe with him, with Chuck Smith, the pass rushing guru, if he gets him right, this guy could be scary in a few years. Maybe sooner than later. And we're back from the TK's Coaches Film Room segment. Hope you guys liked the segment this week. Had a lot of good things. Got a lot of good things, especially Keaton Mitchell on offense.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's something else. And this week was a great week for your film room because there was just so much to cover and kind of like go on about, the offense and the defense just kind of left you with a whole kind of bouquet of things to look at.
There was not many negatives.
No.
So
now let's
fun.
Sometimes it's good to not have many negatives, but sometimes it's bad to not have any negatives. So
that's true. You ready to go ahead and get into offense?
Let's get into offense, baby.
Let's do it. All right. So offensive keys, just looking at it from a big picture. Right now, the Ravens are ranked number 6 in total offense, number 1 in rushing offense. Cleveland is ranked number 3 in points per game, and as you said earlier, they're number 1 in yards per game for defense. They have the number 6 rush defense, and they also have the number 1 third down defense.
I'm not worried. Everyone talks about the injuries last game, but their defense was pretty healthy from what I can remember. They were fairly healthy. No more unhealthy than our offense was.
Yeah, I know Myles Garrett got hurt during the game,
He still played the whole game,
but he finished. Yeah.
yeah.
And then Zadarius Smith, I think, also got hurt.
He did get hurt early. That was his presence will definitely make a difference this week.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just that those two, those pass rushers. Myles Garrett right now has got 9.5 sacks, and he's ranked second in the NFL for that. So pass protection's got to be the number one key for us, especially with, last week Ronnie Stanley versus Boye Mafe from Seattle, kind of had that different level speed that Myles Garrett has too, and we got to be ready for that. We got to provide him some extra assistance with our running backs and tight ends, making sure we're chipping those guys and not just giving them a one-on-one pass rush, because they will beat our guys if we do that.
Yes. I actually think that it might be smart to have Ronnie Stanley and Patrick McCarry kind of alternate in this game, because McCarry's already seen Myles Garrett this year. I don't think Ronnie Stanley was out that game, right?
He was out. But they've seen him in the past.
Right, but this is a different Ronnie Stanley and a different Myles Garrett.
That's true.
I think it's even more blatantly in our face important to keep Lamar clean this year, just because of how dominant he can be when he is kept clean.
Yeah, so this kind of reminds me of, like, I guess it kind of reminds me of last week in a way, because although we didn't know it, the game plan for the Ravens offensively was to run the ball. And I feel like that's what we should be doing this week. Even though they have the number 6 rush defense, we ran for 130 yards on them last time we played them. And I just feel like coming off the back-to-back big-time run games that we've had, and now you're bringing in Keaton Mitchell into the realm, I've got to think that it's got to be a heavy run game for us. I think Lamar is going to – the last time I played Cleveland, Lamar had 2 rushing touchdowns. So I can easily see us trying to mimic that. I know Schwartz, the DC for Cleveland, has come out and said that they need to make sure they contain Lamar, but who doesn't say that?
Yeah. I only remember one person ever successfully doing that. That was Mike Vrabel in the playoffs.
When he was young.
Yeah.
Now he's different. He's a different player, different offense.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It was like 3-4 years ago now. It's been a minute.
So I think the key for us offensively, run the ball, run the damn ball, and we'll be good.
I kind of disagree. Not entirely. I think running the ball, especially in the red zone, is a big key to us winning the game. But I think we're going to get down the field by passing the ball. And it's because we've been so run heavy these last few weeks, and it's because we were so run heavy last time we played the Browns. They're going to kind of be ready for that. They're kind of going to game plan for that. But they're also going to game plan for the pass, because they know we'll kind of switch to the pass. So what I think we need to do is start passing, and then when they make that adjustment, just run it down their throats.
Yeah, I think you always got to say, let's take what the defense gives us. If they're going to load up the box, I can see us hitting them on some RPOs and, hopefully get Zay Flowers involved. Last game that we played, Mark Andrews also scored 2 red zone touchdowns. So I think that's got to be an emphasis for the Cleveland defense to make sure that they have their eyes on him in the red zone. So I think that between Odell, Rashad Bateman, and Isaiah Likely, those 3 need to step up in the red zone.
Mm-hmm. I think also Pat Ricard is going to be a huge figure in this game, as far as controlling what we can do on the ground and in the red zone, just because we do use him as pretty much an extra tight end.
Slash tackle,
yeah. You can literally have like 2 tackles on one side pretty much, and just bam. I know we did it a couple times, well, at least once last week.
He scored. They scored on both Gus Edwards' touchdowns. It was offensive lineman or guard, tackle, tight end, Patrick Ricard, or
yeah,
I think it was Patrick Ricard, then tight end. So we had essentially tackle, Ricard, tight end, all 3 next to each other, and they just ran duo scheme and
it worked.
Killed it.
It worked. And the thing with Patrick Ricard, I was one of the people who said we should have cut him at the beginning of the year to save more space for someone else. I'll admit that. There was a lot of uncertainty of what he was going to be in this offense. But you know what? He's found his spot, and he's owning it, and he's doing the best he can, and that's something he's always done. So, Pat, if you ever hear this, I'm sorry that I wanted you to get cut. I apologize.
You're a valuable piece.
You are a valuable piece. And not that you weren't before, it was more the uncertainty of a new Todd Monken offense. But you are really, really proving why teams need to keep a fullback. Look at the 49ers. Look at us. We are literally the only two teams that consistently run with fullbacks. And we are always in the top 5 in wins every year.
Yeah.
So it works. It works. He will be big.
That's all I got for offense. How about you?
I mean, that was pretty much it. Pat Ricard was my big thing. I think, again, like you said, the ref is very prone to calling offensive holding. I think looking at tape, we might have gotten away with 1 or 2 last week. Nothing crazy like they should have called it, but they could have called it kind of stuff. And if you can call it, he will call it. So really, 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 Ronnie Stanley, no holding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into defense.
Yeah.
Defensively, big picture, we are the number 1 defense right now in points per game. Cleveland has the number 18 offense in yards per game, and they have the number 3 rushing offense in the NFL.
Well, if they run to the outside, they might have more success than if they run on the inside. I do think that we are one of those defenses that necessarily hasn't been tested on the ground as much as we could have been. Now, it's not because teams don't have good running backs. It's because teams give up on the run and then they go down really big and they can't run it. In a divisional matchup where the game is probably going to be a lot closer than we want it to be, I'm interested to see how the run game develops for them throughout the game. If they can keep it close, it could kill us in the end if we get tired, but I don't necessarily foresee that happening because Kareem Hunt isn't the same Kareem Hunt. They don't have Nick Chubb, and Deshaun Watson, a lot like Lamar, is very prone to turning over the ball this year when he gets hit or gets pressured. So watch out for the run, but I'm not too worried about it. We're going to get to the quarterback. We're going to hit him. We're going to make him uncomfortable, as we always do. We have one of the best home defenses in the NFL, probably the best home defense in the NFL.
I think we're the number 1 defense regardless, home or away.
I agree.
When you make it home, it's just that much.
Yeah. I mean, you guys saw his tape, his review at home when the offense can't hear themselves think and our defense just will not relent. It equals up to some pretty big mistakes that can change the outcome of the game, you know?
Yes, for sure. We have a significant home field advantage with our defense. And I expect it to be a pretty packed house this weekend. The biggest thing that I think is a mismatch is the fact, like we said earlier, they're going to be without their starting 2 tackles. They're going to be playing with backups against our pass rush that leads the NFL in sacks.
Mm-hmm.
We had 4 sacks against them in week 4, and that was with one of their guys, Jedrick Willis was still in the lineup. So I think we're going to pressure them, and it's not going to be because we need to blitz them. I think we're going to be able to do it with rushing 4 guys.
I do too. I think we're going to make no, I can't say that. Never mind. Can you cut it out? Can you cut it if I say it?
Yeah.
I think we're going to make Deshaun Watson about as uncomfortable as he makes every woman in America right now.
I'm keeping it.
Okay. Fuck you. Okay. I think it's highly possible that he could have one of his worst games in the NFL because he's a different player. Ever since everything happened with him in Houston, obviously he took a lot of time off, and he's not the same guy. He used to be so dynamic because he was so decisive on the ground with his feet, and he could sling it. He can still sling it. He's definitely lost a step on the ground. I think it's easier to get in his head now. I think that everything that happened really did a number on the man's mental health, and I'm not defending him, but I'm just saying, like, wouldn't it to anyone else, like the whole national media calling you a monster, even if you are a monster, definitely will mess with your psyche. I don't know. I think he's like downgraded Deshaun Watson, and we are upgraded Ravens defense. So
Yeah, I mean, I also think that it seems like since he's gotten that contract fully guaranteed, he's been pretty fragile.
he never wanted to go to Cleveland in the first place. Let's not
Yeah,
forget
so
about
I don't foresee him, if he takes a couple of tough hits, staying in the game and just sticking that out. So that doesn't seem to be his nature as of late since he's gotten that contract. But
Is that do you think that's a him thing, or do you think that's an ownership like, hey, we invested all this money, he cannot play? Because like I know that it's been said that it's coming from his camp, but I don't.
I don't really know. I haven't paid too much attention to it. I just am looking from the outsider's perspective
Mhm.
and just seeing the amount of time he's on the field versus not.
He missed like 3 weeks. After the first week, everyone said he could be back. You know,
Yeah.
you never
So
know. He had, what was it, like the shoulder something rotator cuff?
throwing shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, if it took him out for 3 weeks, it could still affect him this week, especially if he's getting hit every other
He's
play.
still on the injury report, even though he says he's practicing in full. He's still on it for a reason. So I think if we hit him one time in that shoulder, he could definitely fold. Those are the types of injuries that definitely can be reoccurring.
Definitely so. I think one other thing I wanted to add about Deshaun Watson, like I said, he's been turning the ball over a lot. He's thrown a couple really bad interceptions these last.
Don't count the Arizona game. Not counting the Arizona game.
Yeah. Excluding Arizona, when he's played, I can't remember if it was San Francisco or it was the Colts game. He threw like one that was called back that shouldn't have been, and he threw another that was just really bad.
He kind of reminds me of like that. He's got that gunslinger Brett Favre, Ryan Fitzpatrick mentality where he's not afraid. He's got the arm strength. He's not afraid to just sling the ball down the field. Now, if he hits it, it's a huge play.
Mm-hmm.
But when he misses, and it can be intercepted.
Yeah, and with our boy Geno Stone sitting back there, let's hope he misses a couple times. Maybe we can tie with Ed.
One thing that we were able to do last time we played him, because we weren't playing Deshaun Watson, we were playing a rookie quarterback, was we were pretty much able to nullify Amari Cooper. So that's another guy that we got to make sure we're able to match up with, which I'm not really too concerned about because our DBs have played so well against no matter who they played against.
Apparently, Rocky Yassin is like at full health now.
That would be nice, but I still don't see him taking reps from either Marlon or Brandon Stevens. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
It'll just be good to have the depth, though. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
4 healthy corners ready to go.
One thing that they do have is they have a running game.
Mm-hmm.
So they're number 3 in the rushing offense. We are a top run defense. I know our numbers got a little deflated after the Arizona game, but if you take that game out, we're 1 or 2 in rush defense. And I think as long as we're able to close those gaps up, we should be fine.
What concerns me for the Browns is that they're, like I was saying earlier, if they can keep it close, their run game could evolve and kind of take control late in the game. One thing I wasn't really thinking about, even though you had just said it, was their O-line is decimated. And the exact opposite could happen. They might pop off 1 or 2 decent runs in the first quarter and then die like the Seahawks did,
One thing with having backup offensive linemen in, I feel like that kind of results in the offensive scheme having to take some back. They're not able to be as creative in their run game. They're going to have to probably be more zone. And that's defensively, that's what they love, As long as you fill up your gaps and your gap responsibility is sound, then there shouldn't be any issues as long as you don't miss any tackles. But like I said earlier, David Njoku was their top target in week 4 for the pass game. So I think we actually did struggle, I know, versus Arizona in the pass versus their tight end. So I could see Cleveland trying to implement some of what Arizona did to try to get Njoku the ball.
Now, keep in mind, Njoku was on the injury report too.
Yeah. He's questionable right now, but we'll see. And then the other thing that they're actually pretty good at offensively is their screen game, and that's, again, something that we struggle with. So I would be pretty aware of that. Hopefully defensively that's something that they're going to do. I think defensive line wise, we're so aggressive, and that's probably what opens up the screen game so much. So we just got to try to see that at the second level with our linebackers, I think. And if we're able to disrupt that with our linebackers and our safeties, then that would be pretty huge.
Mm-hmm. By the way, I was not rolling my eyes at you. I was thinking, yeah. And I think that, I don't know. I mean, you kind of said exactly what I was going to say. So.
Well, yeah, that's pretty much it defensively for me.
Yeah. Oh, actually, no. Also, what I was going to say is, like I said, with the Seahawks, I actually welcome the Browns to go to the screen. We need the practice. Give us another strength to sharpen.
Yeah, especially versus them, because that's a staple of their offense.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like Detroit. Detroit did that a lot versus us, and I think what we did was just minimize how much they gained off it. They were able to complete a couple of them, but it didn't really result in scores for them. So
right. And if we're able to discourage the Browns and they only get 1 to 2 yards off the screen every play, that's a win for us. That's not success. Like, just because you complete the screen doesn't make it successful.
Yeah, I think the problem with the screen, if that's going to be such a huge part of your offense, is that you can't really rely on that to be your number one thing. Like, that's something that should be a one-off of your offense. That's something that you can go to when you need a good 5-6 yards, not something that you're going to get 20.
Right. This isn't flag football where you can just, be the most athletic person on the field every play and pass a screen and get like 25 yards.
Cleveland doesn't have one of those guys either.
No.
They don't have a Zay Flowers.
They don't. I mean, Amari Cooper is probably the closest thing they have to anything like that that's healthy.
I mean, they do have dude from the Jets. What's his name? That came there this year. Wide receiver.
Davis?
Who?
Was it Corey Davis? No, he retired.
He's a slot receiver.
I know who you're talking about.
Elijah Moore.
Yeah.
He's their quick guy like Zay, but
we'll see. It's again tough to see them injured, because even though I don't like that as an excuse, it would be a very different game if they were at full strength. Nick Chubb has always kind of given us trouble, and so I'm kind of relieved that he's not playing. But typically with the Browns, they're able to get that good balance of the screen and the PA and the run game. And once they get it going, they get it going. The one thing I've noticed about the Ravens defense this year is that if you can get it going against them, you can a lot of times they'll make a really nice stop and kind of flip it on its heels like we did last week after the fumble where we just got the ball right back. But sometimes if you're driving against the Ravens, we're a bend don't break, so they'll still get into the red zone and they can still score a field goal. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But the good thing is, with the way that our offense is playing, field goals don't usually win against us.
That's true, unless you're the Steelers.
Let's go ahead and get into some bold predictions then.
Okay.
You or me first?
Go ahead.
All right. Offense. We will see another week with a first touchdown scorer for their very first touchdown of the season, and I'm going to say it's going to be Rashad Bateman.
That'd be nice.
Defensively, I am going to say that we have our first defensive touchdown of the season. Not going to call out any players individually. Just getting a touchdown in itself would be awesome.
I don't know if you remember this. There was wait, did you also want to do your game pick?
I can.
Sorry.
No, you're
good. I was going to go into my defensive one.
Yeah. So my score, I'm going with a Ravens win, but it's going to be a close one. 27-24. Cleveland will cover the spread.
Okay. I don't know if you remember this a few years ago. 2017, the year before Lamar Jackson came, there was a was it 17? It might have been 18. We shut out the Titans 21-0, and we had 7 sacks. And I think that was a Ravens record in sacks. I think we're going to break that record this weekend. I think we can get to 9. I don't think we'll break double digits. That's ridiculous. But I think we can get 9 sacks.
Good week as any.
Yep. Offensively, I think it's going to be. I mean, we did well against them last time, but you do have to respect the Browns defense. I don't think we're going to get the yards that we normally do. I don't necessarily think we're going to have the best offensive game. But I like as far as like points put on the board, but I will predict that we will absolutely dominate the time of possession. I think it'll be like 40 minutes to 20 minutes, something crazy like that. We're absolutely going to kill the time of possession, and that's what's going to get us the win. I say we win 16-13. I don't think it's going to be a very high-scoring game. I think I obviously have the under. I think Justin Tucker's leg is probably what wins it for us. I wouldn't even be shocked if it was one of those dreadful Ravens go up 10-0. All of a sudden, we're down 13-10 in the fourth, and we have to go tie it and go to OT and win. But I do think we'll win.
Nice.
So I'm picking the under 3-point win at home.
All right. Well, that brings us to the AFC North and primetime picks. So last week, we both tied 4-2. I think we split on 2 games, and then the rest we picked the same. So this is you're still up by 1 game on the season. Still a tight race right now.
Hey, we're only halfway there.
The midway point of the season right now. So we'll see. But you want to go ahead and start making some picks now?
Yeah, well, I will say we are currently recording this during the Panthers-Bears game. Tyler texted me about an hour before the game kicked off, and we both picked the Bears to win. I currently know the score. Tyler does not.
Nope.
So we're going to leave it at that. We didn't even choose like a score line. We just picked a win.
Yep.
Moving forward with that, we have a Germany game this week.
So we both picked the Bears. The Germany game is Indianapolis versus the Patriots.
Colts versus the Patriots.
Yep, Colts versus the Patriots.
By the way, kudos to Germany for kicking butt last week. One of the most attended international games I've ever seen.
Yeah, that was actually a pretty good game. It started off pretty close, or I guess Kansas City kind of just started taking over, and then Miami started inching their way back. But
yeah,
I think Kansas City. I think they figured out the cheat code for the Dolphins was to just double team Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, I don't necessarily. It's tough to say with the Dolphins because lose to all the good teams, beat all the really bad teams. That could just be something that changes. They could figure it out and they'll be fine, or it could kill them.
Yeah.
But back to the Colts and Patriots. Probably the worst international game matchup of the year, unfortunately. I'm sorry, Germany.
You wouldn't be saying this if it was 10 years ago, though.
No, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, this would be like the holy grail of games. And I think it has a potential to be, even though it's a lousy matchup, a pretty interesting game. Because the Colts don't like to win, and neither do the Patriots. And one of them probably has to win. What do you think?
I'm going to go with the Patriots. I'm going to say that they are the more desperate team in this case. And I just feel like Belichick, being the military mind that he is going to have his guys ready to go in Germany.
That would be interesting. I'm torn because I think the Colts will probably be able to run for like 300 yards on the Patriots. But I will say Gardner Minshew, after a strong start last week, disappeared in the latter part of the game. I can't remember if it was the entire second half or just more so towards the end of the third quarter, but he did kind of disappear. So I think the Patriots, between the two of those teams, have been the most consistent as far as like not winning, obviously, but they've looked more complete at times than the Colts do without Anthony Richardson. And they should have won last week. I think you're right. I agree with you. Bill Belichick is not going to get embarrassed in front of a different country. I say Patriots 9, Colts 2, something crazy. I don't know. I think it's like a high yardage, low scoring game.
Okay. Well, that takes us to an AFC North matchup. We've got Houston at Cincinnati.
If you saw the size of Houston's injury report, then you would agree 100% with me that the Bengals are going to win that game.
Yeah, it's bad. I don't think that
30 players. There are 30 players on the Texans injury report.
Yeah, I don't think they've got a chance in hell to win this game. I mean, CJ Stroud's been balling, don't get me wrong, but I don't think he's going to be enough by himself to beat the Bengals. Now,
what was the score last week? 38-39?
Texans?
Yeah, it was like 39-37, something like that.
Yeah, let me pull it up.
I just want to make sure I get my facts straight.
They won 39-37 versus the 3-5 Bucks.
So Baker Mayfield and company were able to score 37 points on this defense. That just shows how, I mean, not how bad they are, but how much they're struggling just with all the injuries. Joe Burrow will humble you very fast when you don't have a defense, as we know from experience. I don't think CJ Stroud can keep up. 42-21, something like that. Bengals.
Mm-hmm.
Not a very close game, not a very good game. Keep the pressure on the Ravens.
I like it. Yeah, I'm going Cincinnati. I think it's 42-21. It's pretty close. I'll go 35-14.
Okay.
35-17 maybe. Another AFC North game. We've got Green Bay at Pittsburgh.
The most frustrating thing about Pittsburgh is every time they play a game, they match up perfectly against that team. They really do.
Green Bay's also been kind of trending downwards the last couple weeks.
They did win their first game in like 6 or 7 weeks last week. Blew out the Rams. They blew out the Rams. It was like 20-3 against LA. I know Matthew Stafford wasn't playing. But Brett Ripien is better than Kenny Pickett, so I'll give him that. I still think that the great equalizer is the Steelers defense. They keep teams honest and they show you who you actually are. It can be scary, it can be depressing, but Jordan Love might throw more interceptions than completions. The Steelers are going to win.
I agree. I just think that I don't think being that it's in Pittsburgh, I believe, isn't Pittsburgh coming off an extra rest week because they played Thursday night? So they're going to be well rested. I think they're going to be good to go. Offensively, I think now that they got Deontay Johnson back, that's opened up some things for them. So I'm going Steelers.
You know, it's really frustrating because the Steelers team, like, it's frustrating how ass their schedule is because of how bad they were last year in our division. They weren't even bad. They were just like, weren't they they were third or fourth, obviously, because we made the playoffs. I think they were third. And so they're getting all of these like really mid teams that can't score on their defense. And, you know, I mean, life is good here in Baltimore. Don't get me wrong. It's so annoying that like the 1 year we're winning, we're like 7-2. Everyone else is 5-3, you know?
Yeah. Well, that brings us to a Sunday night football matchup between the Jets at the Las Vegas Raiders. Jets get another primetime game thrown their way because of the expected Aaron Rodgers playing.
And the Raiders, too. This is like their 5th or 6th primetime game, too.
Yeah. The Jets have just kind of, every time I pick them, they lose.
Mm-hmm. They looked so bad last Monday.
They did, and I feel like it was because of how banged up their offensive line is. I just feel like a lot of the blame is being placed on Zach Wilson when in reality, I don't know if it would matter if Aaron Rodgers was back there with that offensive line. But you're also going against the Raiders, who have Max Crosby on the other side, who is just a ridiculous. I think he leads the NFL in sacks, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably the lead right at the midpoint of this year. He's probably the defensive player of the year, if I had to guess. But with all that being said, I'm still gonna rock with the Jets. I think they're gonna finally push through offensively this week. I know it's on the road at Las Vegas. I just got a weird feeling that I know the Raiders are coming off this big emotional victory with the new head coach. Kind of reminds me of the Colts last year with Jeff Saturday being a former player. And we all saw how that went after their first win with the Colts. It went downhill fast. So I'm going to go ahead and go with the Jets. I feel like their defense is going to get them a couple turnovers early on in the game, and then the offense is going to finally produce off of those turnovers.
I don't say this very often, but I have an intense feeling in my gut. We're going to witness our first tie on Sunday night. I don't think either of these teams are good enough to beat each other. I genuinely cannot explain why I feel like it's going to be a tie.
I will tell you, if you predict a tie, you get 5 wins.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, it's a deal. And if I get it wrong, I'll give you a win. Because
no, you don't have to do that.
Okay. Okay. I think it's going to tie. I don't think either of these offenses are good enough to score on the defenses. I think they will eventually. You remember like 6 years ago that Seahawks Cardinals 6-6 game or whatever it was, where they both missed an OT to win the game? That's the kind of game we're going to be looking at. And then they will never put the Jets or the Raiders in primetime again, unless Aaron Rodgers is for sure playing. And then with the Raiders, just never again.
He said, give me a few weeks.
Wish it was the same with JK. But I don't know, man. It's probably stupid to pick a tie, but just something in my gut really, really screams tie to me. Look,
if you predict the tie correctly,
Zach Wilson is like Palmer versus me at quarterback. Like,
I'm telling you, he's a good quarterback. He just has no help.
Well, that's what I'm. Wait, who are you talking? Zach Wilson or Aiden O'Connell?
Zach Wilson.
Because I would make the argument that I think Aiden O'Connell can be good one day. I think Zach Wilson also can be good one day, but I
think Zach Wilson's good now. I just don't think he has a supporting cast.
He's definitely got his IQ has gotten higher. Like he's making reads and he's trying to deliver on plays, and people, like you said, they're not performing with him. But also he looked atrocious on Monday night. Like he looked.
Yeah, he was getting.
His
bell was getting rung every play.
And that's what I'm saying. It's the Raiders.
Yeah.
And then just literally take that same thing I said about Zach Wilson and the Jets offense and flip it, because it's going to happen to the Raiders too. If I get this right, which I know I won't, but if I do, I feel it in my gut. So I
play the lottery if you win this.
Either that or the government will just pick me up in the middle of the night and you'll never hear from me again. And I'll be an oracle or something.
Yeah. Anyways,
yeah.
Monday night game. Buffalo gets it again. Denver at Buffalo. They get another prime timer. Let's see. What do you think? Can Denver pull off what they did versus Kansas City versus Buffalo? I know Buffalo is 5-4 right now, so they're not exactly on that level, but because they have Josh Allen, that's what they're considered.
How is the Broncos' run defense?
Denver Broncos run D. I feel like their defense has gotten better as the season's gone on.
I think ever since they've kind of gotten rid of some of those players on defense, they've definitely stepped it up. As at least that's what I've heard. I haven't really watched the Broncos. But I'll say this: Russell Wilson has been actually playing not half that bad. Not half bad. What the hell am I saying? Russell Wilson has been playing pretty decently in weeks late.
They're actually ranked 32nd in run defense.
I asked because, the Bills
the Bills can't run versus the Broncos. They can't run versus anyone.
Right. I think I'm gonna have to go with the Bills. I heard I was trending Broncos because if neither team can run very well and it's just a passing thing, then I would say the Bills secondary is obviously a little banged up, and Josh Allen is not Superman. He can't do it by himself. Everyone thought he was, but he clearly can't. He still only has one receiver. Gabe Davis is not a good receiver. He is flashy every 4 weeks. Their young tight end, he's going to be good, but he's still young. You can't expect the world from him. Stephon Diggs is like the only constant. Well, also Shakur. Shakur has been good as of late.
He stepped up.
But you know what I'm saying. I think still though, after hearing that they're the 32nd ranked defense, run defense, I'll probably have to go Bills.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much the run defense is going to make any difference because the Bills just don't even try to run the ball. It seems like. If anyone does, it would be Josh Allen.
That's what I was getting at. Was like if Josh Allen can run on this team, then they'll be fine. But if he can't, then they're screwed.
Yeah, I think it will be close. I don't think it's going to be some crazy, shootout where the Bills just, blow them out of the building. But I do think they will come out on top. I would say a final score of 27-21.
Okay. Yeah, I'd say probably something kind of similar, like 17-15. I don't know.
So
17-14.
Yeah. Well, there you have it. There's our Week 10 picks.
Oh, look
this
at
week.
You.
All right here for us. So the only differing game is the Sunday night football matchup where Mike has decided to go with a tie.
Which means that if the Raiders win, neither of us get it.
Correct. But if the Jets win, I will get back up 1, and we will be tied on the season.
And if I hit the tie, you are being blown out of the water.
If you hit that tie, I am screwed.
I will say this. If we get the tie, I will ask you again if you really want to give me 5 wins.
I'm telling you right now, if you get the tie, you get 5 wins, and that is well worth it.
Yeah. I've never hoped for a team to tie as much as I've hoped that they do now. I actually was watching a video. Apparently, we have tied in history. Like the Ravens have had a tie. I didn't know that, but we've only had one. We're one of 4 teams, I think, to only have one. And I think there's only one team that's never tied a game, and I can't remember who it was. But there are a few teams that have tied like multiple times. I think the Bears have like 16 or 17 ties in their history, which is, very Chicago-like.
I feel like the Jets are a tie team.
Well, yeah. I don't even think I've ever watched a tie except for one. I watched the Bengals and the Washington, then Redskins tie.
Makes sense.
And I think the Washington had like missed a kick to win it, or Cincy did. And it was like a overseas game, I think, or an early window game, something like that. I remember watching a kick get missed and it was a tie.
Well, that brings us to our final segment, Mike's Top 5 Ravens.
Ooh boy. Let's go. Okay, so start with 5. A lot of people think you should be higher. I don't, because it's only been 1 week. Keaton Mitchell. Keaton Mitchell, keep it up. You'll be number 1 every week. Great explosive play, kind of like Tyler was saying earlier. He doesn't get pushed back. He falls forward and gains extra yards, even with his small stature. He's shifty. He is a little injury prone though. So keep an eye on that. But if he does play this week, I think he could make him find himself a spot in the top 3. Number 4, I have Geno Stone. Lead interception in the NFL, Geno Stone.
And he's number 4.
Right. He's very close to breaking Ed Reed's record for interceptions in a season. What is it? No.
9.
Yeah, I thought it was 9, but I didn't want to embarrass myself on a Ravens channel and say something else. Okay. I got to stop second guessing myself because I knew that one. Okay. I think he can break that record, and I think he can pretty handily break it. I think at this rate, he's set to score 12 interceptions this season, which would be 3 more. So let's keep it up, Geno Stone. Another bold prediction I would make is I could see 2 for you this week. Number 3, I had Kyle Van Noy, another 2-week sack week. This is what happens when you sign someone midseason and they come in healthy and they already are an impact player, like just before you even sign them. I don't know why no one else took him because he was there. Maybe he knew that the Ravens were going to try and sign him midseason. But he has made an impact. Honestly, dude, it's kind of been like Roquan Smith. Just ever since he's stepped foot on the field as a Raven, it has been play after play, game after game. And it's like, he's 33? And he's still doing it, 32? And he's still doing it at that level. Number 2, Lamar Jackson. I know that the stats aren't always the numbers aren't always in his favor, but he is a field general. Just, he commands the field. He makes the right audibles when he has to. He still sometimes, I know one of the things I got on him about years past is he would make foolish throws. And there are a couple sometimes that seem foolish, but that's a little more on his receivers. Actually looking at the tape, he has cleaned it up and he is not joking around. He wants to win the Super Bowl and he wants to win it this season. And keep playing with that mentality. Don't get hurt, and you very well might. There are people saying that he might win MVP, and he hasn't even he's barely acknowledged it. Doesn't care. And that is a scary man. Number 1, our version of the tush push, Gus Edwards. Short yardage, give it to Gus. Red zone, give it to Gus. He'll likely score. What was it, 2 more this week? Was it? Yeah. Once we figured out what we can do with him, even if teams know it's coming, he still gets in. That's why I call him our tush push. And that's
I've been saying it. I said it in the beginning of the year when we kept trying to give Justice Hill the ball on the goal line. I was like, what are we doing? And then finally they started listening, and it's like, this is what we've been waiting for. Right.
Can you imagine a combination like last week with Keaton Mitchell and Gus Edwards healthy consistently? It's something else. And leave it to the Ravens to have 2 running backs in their top 5 players of the week, So,
and Lamar is not one of them.
And it's not one of them, but he still is in the top 5. But yeah, that's my top 5 list. I have 5 Keaton Mitchell, 4 Geno Stone, 3 Kyle Van Noy, 2 Lamar Jackson, 1 Gus Edwards.
I like it. Well, I think that wraps up this week's episode of the Week 10 preview game of Cleveland at Baltimore. Look forward to this game at Sunday at 1:00. It's going to be on Fox this week, not CBS. So we'll see how that goes.
Do you know who our commentary crew is? Did we say
our commentary crew is Kenny Albert and Jonathan Vilma.
Don't know who those people are.
Vilma's a former player. I don't know Kenny Albert.
I'm sure I've heard them. I just don't know them by name. Don't forget, like, subscribe, and share. Guys, have we had any questions?
Not yet.
Week 9. Come on, give us a question. We're getting all the views.
Yeah, these preview episodes have definitely been our biggest hits as far as views go. So please, you guys, please send us questions. Make sure if you like what you see, you share the podcast with your friends, your fellow Ravens fans, friends, family, everybody. All right. So we're trying to get this brand up and just try to reach as many Ravens fans as possible.
Guys, I swear to God, if you share it with John Harbaugh and he follows us, I swear to God. I'm sorry. It's like 10:30. 10:07. I'm tired. It's past my bedtime.
On that note, I'm going to say we should go ahead and sign this one off, Mike.
Yep. Let's go. Let's go, Ravens.
Go Ravens. Go Birds.
Let's be 3-1 in this division.
Peace.
Peace.